Hello everyone, CatWeazle here. Welcome to the channel and welcome to our brand new playthrough of an old game. In fact, the first game I ever played on this channel. Yes, it's Shadows of Brimstone and it's reloaded. What do I mean by that? Well, when I originally played this game back in the day, years and years ago, about 7 years ago, it had been out for about 2 years and there was a lot of problems with it, and Flying Frog Productions were very reticent on actually releasing any errata or a FAQ or anything like that. Eventually they started drip feeding changes. A lot of the changes related to, in fact, the scout character, and a few changes were also to the gunslinger, which were my two heroes at the time, Running Bear and Cadence Gaunt. And I ended up, I thought, oh right, I'll stop playing the game till they sort themselves out, you know, till something like official comes out. And then what happened was they sort of pissed and arsed around, and it ended up being, I think it was about 9-10 months after I played my last playthrough on the channel that they actually got round to it. And by that time I was deep into Arkham horror and Eldritch horror, and I ended up not going back to it. But still enjoy the game. It's got its problems. I'm going to go through that shortly. But I do enjoy the game, and I finally decided to actually play it again. It is one of the games that is requested quite often on the channel. When you're going to get back to Shadows of Brimstone? But because of all those changes that I mentioned, can't really carry on with the original campaign I was running, because particularly the scout character, Running Bear, just completely changed. They completely changed him. They have, and for the better. It has been changed for the better, I will admit. It's been boosted, which sort of offsets what happened to our gunslinger character, which is Cadence Gaunt. He was nerfed. He was nerfed to buggery, was Cade. In fact, at the time, I was and I still think so, I'm pretty sure somebody was watching my playthroughs, and there was a couple of things that Cade got hold of. He got hold of a pistol, a particular pistol. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but they actually made it a frontier only. They gave it a keyword, said it was frontier only, so Cade couldn't use it, because I believe he had a boost on his agility. Cade, he got I think it was a ribbon, a blue ribbon or something like that he got, that gave him a significant agility boost. And with this pistol that he had, he was actually like, he was an absolute beast. And anyway, they nerfed that because they took the pistol away from gunfighters and made it frontier only. So he was heavily affected as well. Basically, I thought, if I'm going to play the game again, then I'm going to, for two reasons, I'm going to have to start again. First reason is, obviously, Running Bear and Cade are completely different now. I couldn't carry on with them how they were, so I may as well start again from the beginning. And the second reason is, it's been 7 years since I've played this game and I've forgotten how to play it. So I may as well start again from scratch. So Shadows of Brimstone is reloaded, and we're going to start again with Running Bear and Cade from scratch. And they're going to have another member of their hero posse. Yes, they're going to have the Saloon Girl. So I'll go through them all shortly, and you know, go through what the new abilities are and stuff like that. But here we are. Here she is, and this is Fifi Dubois, who's really French. She's really French. Honest. Comes from Paris. Everything. Yes, Fifi Dubois. She's from New Orleans. I believe that's how you say it over there, across the pond. New Orleans. And she's come up to Brimstone, because obviously there's a bit of a boom in Brimstone. Booming Brimstone. And with all the Darkstone and everything. So she's come up to make a bit of money, and she's bumped into Thackery Gaunt and running Bear and joined the team. So I'm going to do it with 3 heroes from now on. So it's going to be Cade, running Bear and Fifi, who are going to go into the mines. That means as far as scaling goes, because we've got 3 heroes, we will be using medium threats to start with. And we'll have a single revive token still. When it comes to showdowns with the big bosses, they will be epic threats now. Apart from this playthrough, because we're doing a fistful of Darkstone. And for the first adventure that you do, the threat level is high. So it doesn't matter how many people that you've got in your posse for the very first adventure, the threat level is high for the big boss. But after that, it will be epic threats for the showdowns. Okay, so that's quickly going through why I have started again from scratch. Some other things. Why has it taken me over 2 weeks from my coming soon video to actually playing the game? I should have called it coming soon-ish. But yes, a couple of reasons. One is the minecart pledge that I got. I'll go through that shortly because that's part of my mini rant that's coming. But the other one was I completely forgot that Easter was coming. So, you know, it's big bank holiday, you know, it's up there with Christmas, and you know, you've got family stuff to do and things like that. So that pushed it back for a few days. But as far as the minecart pledge, now, since I last played this game, and I touched on it briefly a few minutes ago, they actually brought out errata, they brought out a FAQ, and in fact they revised the game. The core sets have been completely revised. Now, I don't have the revised core sets. So what I had, though, I quite fortunately noticed that they had an upgrade pack. This was a few years ago. And I actually bought it from Flying Frog. It cost a fortune, as everything from Flying Frog bloody does. And in this particular case, I couldn't get it in the UK, so I had to have it shipped over from the US. Cost a bloody fortune, and this was before Brexit. And bloody Brexit. Crap. Where was I? Oh yes, the revised edition. So you got a little pack with all updated cards and what have you for the game. And so I got that, and I also got a minecart pledge. Not at the same time. They did a Kickstarter again, and I wanted all the stuff like the Outlaw Hero and stuff like that because I'd missed the original Kickstarter. So when they did a sort of like second Kickstarter, it involved pretty much the original minecart pledge from the original Kickstarter, plus the extra expansions that they'd done since. So there was about, I had at the time, I had both the core sets, Caverns of Cinder and the Frontier Town. Due to the way they organised the this second Kickstarter, I had to get those again because they sort of came in, but that was okay. You know, I got a few more models. I've got spare cards, the ones that they haven't changed, and I also got, you know, a load of spare tokens and stuff, and you know, spare map tiles, things like that. So that was fine. But what I really wanted was the other expansions that came with it. So there was a Tradera expansion, deluxe expansion. There was a load of mission packs. I think I got 6 mission packs. There was deluxe enemy packs, normal enemy packs. There was what else was there? There was loads of stuff. Yeah, so just basically there was a shed load. Oh yeah, there was the alternative gender heroes. So you got the female versions of female and male versions. So, you know, like a piano player for the saloon girl, and a female gunslinger and a female scout, that sort of thing. Then there was all the extra heroes that came through. So I got the outlaw, and you know, there was native Jagano natives and all sorts, orphans and the drifter and all that sort of palaver. So all those were included in it, and it just came in 2 huge cardboard boxes. But I remember when I got it and I opened it, and I was a bit pissed off, because what had happened is the 2 base games, Caverns of Cinder and the Frontier Town, came in retail boxes. Fine. And so did the Tradera expansion. That came in its own retail box. But the Derelict Ship and the Blasted Wastes didn't. Neither did any of the 6 mission packs. So, you know, your feral werewolves, your feral vampires, your, like, Hellfire Succubi, and a few others, the Lost Army, few others. I think Crimson Hand is one I've got, and another one that the Black Fang Tribe. All those didn't come in their retail boxes. Now, a lot of you might say, well, don't use the retail box anyway. I have to, you know, I take them out and then sort them out and put them in, you know, plastic containers or whatever. Well, whoop-de-doo, but I do use the boxes. But the most important thing is, if they come in their retail box, they're already pre-arranged for you. You know, it's easy to check that you've got everything. You open the retail box, it's all sorted, it's got its own minis in there, it's got its cards in there, it's got the rule book in there, it's got the tiles in there. But what they did with these 2 huge cardboard boxes is it's just lobbed it all in. Oh, sorry, you can't have the retail boxes for these particular ones, I'm afraid. So we're just going to chuck it in one big cardboard box. Not only that, they didn't like sort of separate it in a big baggie or anything. You got the tiles and the rule book, they were put together. But like the cards, for example, the Derelict Ship or for the Blasted Wastes, they were just put in 2 massive decks of cards that were all run together and shrink wrapped. And similarly, the minis were put in there like in a separate baggie, but they weren't labelled. Yeah, they were just chucked in a box. So they weren't attached to the rule book and the tiles or the cards. So I had to go through and sort all that out. It was a nightmare. It took me days. And I knew this was going to happen when I first received it. And that's one of the reasons I sort of, like, you know, put it off to one side and didn't bother. I wasn't playing the game at the time, so I've had to do it the other week. I thought I may as well sort it out now I'm playing the game again. So that took me absolutely days to do. So that was another reason. And it was a real pain. When I say, they had 2 shrink-wrapped decks of cards, and they were about that big. So they had about 200 cards in each. So I was going through individually and separating them all out. Not only for the expansions, but they had the things like the deluxe enemy packs that were all separated, because they didn't have boxes either. A few did, but not the deluxe ones. For example, here are the Trun Hunters. I haven't opened these yet, but obviously I don't have to sort those out because they're in the retail box. But all the others were just like, oh god, they were just chucked into a box, as I've said. But the baggies weren't labelled. So the minis, which are on sprues, by the way, they're not like, that's a Shadows of Brimstone thing. They don't come pre-made, you know, they're not pre-assembled. You have to do it yourself. So all I had was bags full of sprues, which had you know, you've got to open the bags and actually have a look at them to see, oh, right, right, I see what these are. These are, I don't know, these are the feral vampires. These are the hellfire succubi. And it was, oh, God, I had to go through, label them all, rebag them, then add all the minis from the base sets. As I say, that came in useful because occasionally you run out of models, but I shouldn't run out of models now. I've got loads of bloody models. But those all have to be assembled. We got extra resin ones, these. I haven't assembled those yet. They're meant to be better. I don't think they are. They're just as crap as the originals. That's the thing with Shadows of Brimstone. The plastic in it, the minis, are absolutely awful. They are rubbish. Don't let anybody tell you any different. They are pathetic. Pathetically bad. Not only do you have to assemble them yourself, whoever made them, wherever they got them from, they're just covered in residue. You know, from the actual process of making the sprues. Just covered in this residue. And it's a real pain to get off. Any other game that I've got, normally what you do is you just wash the minis. You put them in some warm soapy water, whiz them around a bit, rinse it off, and that's fine. You can paint them. Shadows of Brimstone minis, you physically have to put them in the warm soapy water and scrub them. You have to scrub them with like an old, well, I do it with an old toothbrush. And you have to give them a really good scrub, otherwise this crappy residue stays on them. And it's really difficult to prime and paint the minis. And exactly the same this time as well. So that pissed me off. They really are awful miniatures. Don't let anybody tell you any different. And the brand new resin ones, they're just the same. Just the same. Anyway, so that knocked me off. And so I had to sort all that out. Some good things. Got things like this resin depth track. As you can see, I've painted it because I couldn't resist it. This is good. Like this. Excellent. Nice hefty bit of kit. And enjoyed painting it actually. Pretty good. So we've got a nice depth track. And I've also got a 6-shooter resin thing as well. I haven't painted that yet, so we'll just use the normal cardboard one. But those were good. I'll give them. Those were decent, but the rest of the minis are rubbish. Yeah. Another thing with this game that annoys me about it is its combat. Its combat is very poor. Very poor design. Fortunately, each mission isn't very long because combat is very, very repetitive, and this game is all about combat. If you had to play it for any length of time, personally, I just get a bit bored with it. But fortunately, as I say, the missions tend to be quite quick when you're playing. Won't be quick when I'm playing it here, but that's just, you know, videoing and me gassing on like I am now. I've probably gone on for about 15 minutes yet, and I've got another 15 minutes to go probably. And because of that, you know, I couldn't do like 2, 3, 4 missions in a row. It'd just bore me to tears. But a short, sharp mission, brilliant. Yeah, put up with it. I think the problem with the combat is it's very similar to A Touch of Evil, but it works in A Touch of Evil, simple combat, because of the nature of the game. It's a lot more investigative, Touch of Evil, and you're doing more tests rather than, you know, a grinding combat. Right at the end of the game, obviously in A Touch of Evil, you're fighting off the big bad. So you do have a lot of combat there, but it's only one long protracted battle. Shadows of Brimstone is a succession of long protracted battles with an even longer protracted battle at the end when you face like the epic threat. So it can get very repetitive and very samey. And they've also got the bizarre thing where the combat for the heroes is different for the combat for the monsters, which is always good for a laugh. So it's very simple. And not simple in a good way. It's not simple and elegant. It's just simple, right? So combat isn't great. It doesn't scale very well. The scaling of the game is very poor. If you actually go onto BGG, you'll see there's just loads and loads of house rules for trying to get the scaling right. Basically, what tends to happen is for the first couple of levels, you get your ass kicked, big style. Then there's a sort of a sweet spot between 3rd, 4th, 5th level where it works quite well. Then from 5th level up to 8th level, you just basically steamroller absolutely everything. And like I say, if you go onto BGG, there's just loads and loads of house rules for trying to fix it because it wasn't any good in the first place. Other than that, things that aren't particularly good about it are it's not very strategic. This is a luck-based game. I can't think of a game I've got that is more luck-based than Shadows of Brimstone. It truly is. Now, I don't do too badly because I'm quite good with the old dice, as everybody knows. But this is truly a luck-based game. I've heard people say that about Arkham Horror 2nd Edition and Eldritch Horror. No, Eldritch Horror and Arkham Horror 2nd Edition have a lot of strategy. Anybody who's watched my playthroughs will see me there, hear me talking about strategies, what I'm going to do. You don't have it in Shadows of Brimstone. The only strategy in Shadows of Brimstone is using choke points. Yeah, you just use choke points so you don't get swarmed. And even that doesn't work very well because a lot of the monsters can actually run around you. So, yeah, the only strategy you've got is to use choke points. And there's a tiny bit of strategy about, alright, when to turn over an exploration token or when to scavenge, but it's minimal. The game is 90 to 95% luck based. You're just rolling dice, which is fine. But if you're looking for a strategy game, it isn't Shadows of Brimstone. This is a dice chucker. And that's fine. But, you know, just keep it in mind, it's a dice chucker. So if you're ever sat there thinking, you know what I want to play today? I want to play a dice chucker. I don't particularly want to think very hard. Shadows of Brimstone, it's your game. And that's why I've got it out now. Let's chuck some dice, it'll be fun. And it will be fun, but just bear it in mind. It gets very samey after a while, very repetitive, and you start getting a bit bored. But as I've said, missions are quick. So you can do a mission, you can do a town visit, then pack it away and leave it a few weeks. So it does work very well in that respect. And that's the way I'm going to be playing it. We won't be doing a protracted campaign here. We'll just keep dipping into the mines every so often. It'll be a campaign in the sense that, you know, we'll keep the guys leveling up. But I won't be, you know, here like my, what was it, Arkham Horror LCG playthrough, where I was doing it for 6 months. We'll just pop into the mines every so often, do a mission, then we'll do a town visit, and then we'll move on to something else. So we will have Shadows of Brimstone again. It sounds like I'm giving it a really good shoe-in here. Just, why are you playing the game, Paul? You've done nothing but moan about it. One, I had to sort out that minecart pledge, so that pissed me off. So it's got me moaning about other things in the game, but it is still a great game. So just to balance it out, one of the fantastic things about the game is they've now got a FAQ, they've now got an errata, they've now got a revised rule book. This cost me some money because, as I mentioned, that minecart pledge and my original Shadows of Brimstone stuff, I got those before they revised the game. But they, on their website, they do have the revised rules and everything. Don't like reading off a computer, so I actually got these printed out. So got them all printed out, so that's what's here. Got them in a spiral binding, so I can lay it flat. And so I've got the revised rules and the revised adventure books and the frequently asked questions and errata. So all that's in a little book there. So that's all ready to go. So I thought I'd just show you that. And if you just look over to that side, we've actually got our game, Fistful of Darkstone. One thing to mention about the setup of the rules, the revised rules, they've got a Fistful of Darkstone in the actual rule book, not the adventure book. I'd have put it in the adventure book, but they sort of stick it in the rule book. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. You should read the rules anyway, so you should catch it. But it's only a couple of paragraphs, and it would be quite easy to miss. There are some things in the first game that you really should do the first game of Fistful of Darkstone, because it is a little bit easier. It just gets you into the swing of things. So I think they should have put it in the adventure book, but they put it on page 11 of the actual rule book. So if you're struggling to find it, like I did, because I was looking through the adventure book like any sensible person would, but I found it on page 11. So that's what we're going to be doing. Other things that are great about the game has just got a fantastic theme. It's just brilliant. Yeah, the theme is what really sells it. What's better, you know, it's just like the Wild Wild West. Just go out, it's a bit steampunky, you know, it's got monsters in it, yeah, it's Wild West, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's just really brilliant. And there's lots and lots and lots of content. I had to sort through it all, so I know there's lots and lots and lots of content. There's lots of variety, there's lots of different monsters. Even though the combat's a bit samey and repetitive, you know, there are a lot of different monsters. So you're rolling a lot of dice, but at least the monsters are different and their attacks are different. So that helps. That helps spice it up. The cardboard components are excellent. Cannot fault the cardboard components. Flying Frog always have excellent cardboard components. Compare them to FFG, Fantasy Flight Games. Since Asmodee took over, Fantasy Flight Games are shit. The components are a disgrace. They are nothing compared to what they were before Asmodee took over. They can't even give you decent boxes anymore. The boxes are like falling apart. The crap. Flying Frog does not do that. They do not skimp on their cardboard. A Touch of Evil. Never known cardboard like it. A lot of people complain about the artwork using photographs and stuff. Personally, I quite like the old, it's like a 60s Hammer House of Horror aesthetic. I love it, but a lot of people hate it. But the actual cardboard itself, fantastic, and it's exactly the same in Shadows of Brimstone. Here we've got a map tile. That's a proper map tile. Not the crap that they give you in Arkham Horror 3rd Edition, for example. They are crap. Yeah, I had to get Arkham Horror 3rd Edition, like, I had to get it in. I had to have a complaint about it at least once an episode, but it's a great example. This, fantastic. Fantasy Flight's rubbish. And you've got loads and loads of map tiles, loads of different map tiles through all of the expansions and everything. Fantastic. Yeah, cannot fault the cardboard. Absolutely brilliant, and it's a massive part of the game. So kudos there to Flying Frog. Cards. There are tons and tons and tons of cards. Gear, encounters, Growing Dread, Darkness cards, map decks, artifacts, starting gear, loads of them. Just the variety is fantastic, and the gear and stuff that you can deck your heroes out with, it's just fabulous, absolutely fabulous. And that helps as well with gameplay. You've got your other worlds, you've got your double-sided tiles. So I think this is a Targa, yeah. So on the other side you've got Targa, and you've got your normal Earth on this side. But it just gives you so much variety. So again, fantastic game in that regard. So it's got a lot going for it, Shadows of Brimstone. And if it ever had a proper revision, it just needs its combat sorting out. All the rest I could deal with. The combat, oh, and I suppose the level balancing, but the combat, that's what really lets it down. If you look at a game like Sword and Sorcery, for example, or you know, even the Descent games, they just do it so much better. The combat, it's night and day, absolute night and day, the difference in design. And so much better in those games. Sword and Sorcery's combat, amazing. Shadows of Brimstone, bit of a yawn fest. But other than that, fantastic. Love the game. And I always have fun playing it. I just can't play it for, you know, a sustained length of time. Get a bit bored. But we'll have fun. We'll keep visiting it now and again. We'll pop back to Brimstone every now and again, and we'll go down a mine and we'll have some laughs. So, so have I finished complaining now? I think I have. I've finished complaining now. What we'll do is we'll meet our heroes. It's obviously going to be a bit different from last time. We're not going to have the same gear, because we won't have the same like the personal items. We'll pick those again. We'll do those again. We'll have the same starting gear, obviously. I don't think any of it's changed. Some of the abilities have changed, especially for Cade, the gunslinger, and I think there were some changes to the saloon girl as well. So she'll be slightly different from what she would have been previously. I don't think Running Bear's changed with regards to his starting abilities, but his sort of his levelling up tree that he's got, his upgrade tree, that has completely changed. And I think there's been a few changes to Cade's, not as much as Running Bear's, but it has changed the upgrade trees for several of the heroes. I think the Saloon Girls has changed a bit as well. But we didn't used to play with Fifi, did we? So that'll be new to us anyway. Okay, what other things to mention? Got all our dice. You get excellent dice with Shadows of Brimstone as well. With the minecart pledge. And even the ones, the tiny dice that they've got, are pretty good, to be fair. But I use the bigger dice, as you know. I'm a bit of a Mr. Magoo, so I use bigger dice. So we've got red for Cade, we've got blue for Running Bear, and we're going to use green for Fifi. I've also got special D3 dice, because you do a lot of D3 rolling in this game. A few D8s up there, because obviously we might get a shotgun, something like that. Off to one side over here, I've got some black dice for rolling for the darkness and stuff, and also the peril dice. And I've ended up with quite a few peril dice because of all the base sets I've now got. So I've got those there. There are a few other cards which don't come with the game that I've got. There is a sort of Frontier Town items deck, a mutation deck, an injury deck, and a madness deck. I got these, oh yeah, well, it must be 7-8 years ago. I think it was Klutz on BGG, and a load of people did. They made cards that were missing from the actual game, which would have been really useful. And Flying Frog clamped down on it. I don't think people were selling them. You know, they were just putting them out there for, like, you could print them off yourself in Printer Studio, and that's what I did. I'm going to use them because I'm just using them for my personal playthrough. You know, I'm not selling them. So I am going to use them. I don't think you can get them now. So please don't ask me for a link. I think Flying Frog put a stop to it. But I printed mine off before it stopped. So I'm going to use them. And it's just useful because some of the items weren't in the gear deck. And it's just useful to have a card. It's the same with the upgrade cards. I do have a set of upgrade cards for all the original heroes and the outlaw. Unfortunately, for example, Running Bear's cards are all out of date because they completely changed the Indian Scout. But I might do something where I still use the cards. I'll just sort of overwrite them somehow. Think of a way of doing it, because they're really, really useful. Otherwise, you're just writing it down, you know, on a sheet of paper, and that's just a pain. Yeah, it's just a pain. It's one of the, again, a much more minor problem than the ones I was ranting about before. It is a lot of bookkeeping, this game. And I will be using a pad a lot. Brings me to one part, or another part of what we're going to be doing here. You'll probably find that when we come to a big battle in the game, I'm going to stop the video. And the reason for that is not so much at low level, but we'll find it when we you know, get to level 2, level 3, and towards the end of a mission. There is so much to remember. There'll be darkness cards out there that'll have you know, penalties that we've got to take into account. As we level up, there'll be things like epic abilities for the monsters, and they've all got to be taken into account. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably stop recording and then write it all out on a piece of paper, and then in the next episode we'll start the battle then. So you know, think of it as a bit of a cliffhanger. We'll probably do it that way, whereby obviously I get all my ducks in a row, and then we'll start the next episode. I'll know exactly, you know, what we've got to roll, what the bonuses are for the monsters, and it'll make it a lot easier. And so I'm going to be doing that. Another thing I'll do is, if you can see up here, I've got some of the tokens for our heroes and some numbered tokens there. We'll just use that for initiative. So I've got a little marker in front of Cade. He's got the highest initiative. He's got an initiative of 6. Running Bear and Fifi have got an initiative of 5. So Cade, out of our heroes, will be the one going first all the time. And I'll just use those numbered tokens for various monster groups, and we can just keep an eye on you know, who is going when. Because I remember off my earlier playthroughs of this game, I used to do things like forget people's goes, forget a monster's goes, and stuff like that, and it's very easy to do because of all the bookkeeping that you've got to do. So yeah, there'll probably be a few jump cuts during this. normally I like to sort of like carry on, but you can't really do it with Shadows of Brimstone. It's a bit of a stop-start game, especially if you're playing solo and you're videoing like I am. So I'll mention it now. Apologise for it, but there's really nothing, you know, if we want to get things as right as we can, then I'm going to have to stop quite regularly and do some calculations. So hopefully you won't notice it too much, but if you're there and you're going, oh right, that's camera angles changed or whatever, that'll be the reason. I've been organising things. Right, so game setup. Here we go. So we know who our heroes are. We'll go through them again shortly. I've shuffled the card decks. The exploration tokens are all here, so just smoosh them around a bit. And we'll do 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. And that can go on there, that can go on there, and that can go on there. And then for laughs, we'll just do a cut as well. So that's our exploration stack. We'll put these guys on here. And they're ready at the starting spots. I'll go through the heroes in a bit. Deck track, that's prepared. Just very quickly about the depth track. If you haven't seen Shadows of Brimstone before, this is the mine entrance where the yellow marker is, and where the green marker is, that's the darkness. The darkness moves down towards the mine entrance. If it gets to the mine entrance where the yellow marker is now, the darkness escapes the mine and we fail the mission. The yellow marker, that moves up as we encounter more rooms. So first room, it'll go to 15, the room after it'll go to 14, and so on. Where it's got 7 plus, 8 plus and 9 plus, that's what we have to roll on 2d6s. We have to roll that number or better to hold back the darkness. If we don't hold back the darkness, then that green marker starts moving down. Once we've gone through 5 rooms and move into our 6th room, rather than rolling a 7 or better, it's 8 or better. Then when we get to room 11, it'll be 9 or better that we need to roll to hold back the darkness. Fail to hold back the darkness, and obviously that moves towards the mine entrance. The red markers, the blood spatters, once we hit one of those with the green marker, the darkness marker, then we will get a darkness card. There they are, darkness card. And whatever's on that, which is bad, always bad, we have to put that into play. There are some green marked areas, and it's at space 6, space 11, space 15 with a little GD under them. That is Growing Dread. Growing Dread cards are very, very bad. They're not put into play immediately. They're saved to the boss fight at the end. And then you turn them over and you find out the bad news then. So Growing Dread cards, pretty bad. And but you'll see it all the deck track during play. Okay, and I think that's pretty much it. We've got the entrance map tile placed, the heroes are placed, and I mentioned before that because we're using 3 heroes, it'd be medium threats, and we will get a single revive token. The lantern, because we need a lantern to see where we're going, that is with Running Bear, because he's our tracker. So makes sense to give him the lantern. So he'll have the lantern. You'll see that in a minute when we go through each of our posse. And yeah, I think we can get to that now. So we'll quickly go through that. This is going to be a long episode. Wanted to have a good rant, and we'll go through each of our heroes, and next episode we'll get into the game. Right, so we'll do it in initiative order. So first of all, we'll have a look at Cade. And here we are with Cade. So let's have a quick look at his mini, just so you know who he is when you see him on the tiles. So that is Cade. There we go. Looking pretty grim. It's taking aim. There we are. So that's Cade. Alright, and let's go through his character sheet. So he's a gunslinger. He starts with a grit, so I've put that on there. And as far as his abilities go, he's got 3 agility, pretty good. 3 cunning, pretty good. Spirit 2, okay. Strength 2, okay. And Law 2, that's okay as well. But he's got exceptional luck with 4, that's really good. He's got an initiative of 6. He's got the best initiative of anybody out of the posse, so generally he'll be going first. Not all the time, but most of the time. As far as his keyword, he is a showman, so he's got that keyword down here. And keywords, they do affect what... It just comes up in the game occasionally. It's generally to do with gear, what you can use and what you can't use. As I mentioned before, there was a pistol he was using that became Frontier only, and because he didn't have the Frontier keyword, he couldn't use it. So that's his keyword. As far as combat goes, his combat is 1. That means he gets 1 dice if he's ever in melee combat. You know, he's a gunslinger, so he'll be doing range combat most of the time, but he only gets a single combat should he get into melee combat. He's got a max grit of 2. As I mentioned, he starts the adventure with 1 grit, so that's okay. His ranged attack is 3+. Gunslinger, brilliant at ranged attacking. 3+ is amazing. So we will be keeping a pistol in his hand. He won't be doing much melee combat. And another reason for him to not do melee combat is he only succeeds on a 5+ with melee combat, so not as good. His health is 10, and when he defends against hits, he needs to roll a 5+, which isn't so good either. He's a bit of a glass cannon, is the lad. So we've got to look out for Cade. He may struggle as regards losing health. His sanity's pretty good, starting at 12, and in order to save against sanity loss, he rolls against his willpower, and that is a 4+, so that's pretty good. As far as his abilities, to start with, he has Quick and the Dead. So he uses a 6-shooter template, which is here, and it'll start each game fully loaded with 6 Deadeye shots. So there are the Deadeye shots. We'll see how this works during gameplay, but Deadeye shot, you get +2 damage. And you can choose when to use a Deadeye shot. You can actually know what you've hit and then use a Deadeye shot. You don't have to do it before you actually roll. So Deadeye shots are very powerful. And he can get other bullets as well, like ricochet bullets and Cerberus bullets and Hellfire bullets. And if he chooses that particular ladder on his upgrade chart, but you'll see that in a moment. Okay, he's also got a side bag, and for the first mission we get a free side bag token. Now in your side bag you can have 5 tokens. We get a free one because this is our first adventure, and we've picked dynamite. Why dynamite? Dynamite is very powerful. Dynamite is excellent, and if we're going to get something for free, we'll get dynamite. It's also very expensive, so if we're going to get something for free, we're going to get dynamite. And pretty much all of us, all of the posse have got dynamite, I'll tell you now, because we're getting it for free, which I may have just mentioned several times. It's free. Get dynamite. So they're packing dynamite. in case I haven't mentioned that. Okay, dynamite, it's free. And side bags can carry 5 tokens, but there is a way to get more. You can expand your side bag and get more tokens, but generally as part of when you upgrade, when you level up, sometimes you get the opportunity to get a bigger side bag. I think in the revised edition, the side bag cards that you see there, you see where it's got 5 on it? I think on the reverse side it has 7, but I've got the base game side bag cards, so mine don't do that. Mine have got 5 on each side, but if we do get a side bag expansion, I'll just put something on it so we know that they can carry more. Right, he also gets a starting item, and the starting item, as you see down there, for the gunslinger is a pistol. So there you are. And pistol, keywords: gear, gun, pistol. It's got a range of 6, and shots it can fire is 2. So each time you get a go, you fire 2 shots out of it. The little black anvil there at the bottom with upgrade slots means it can be upgraded twice. So that's pretty good. It's one-handed, which is the hand symbol, and it costs $100. Now, he didn't have to buy this because he starts with it, but the reason why they put $100 on it is any starting item belongs to that character only. So this is his gunslinger weapon. He cannot give it to anybody else. So he can't give it to Running Bear. He can't give it to Fifi. Can't give it anybody. They can't use it. Only he can use it. Yeah. But occasionally you may lose a starting item. Like you might be fighting monsters or something. A card will come out, says you lose all your gear. Whatever. Yeah. The only way to get starting gear back is to go back into town and buy it. Nobody else can buy it. Only the starting item for your particular class can be bought by you. So that's his starting item, pistol. So pop that there. He could get a better pistol at some point and we stop using this one. In which case, what we'd probably do is we'd put it in the bank in town or something like that, a safety deposit box. But essentially, you can never get rid of it. And but if he does lose it, it will cost him $100 and he can buy it back in town. He'll get another starting ability, and he's got 3 here he can choose from. Now, last time he had Quick Draw, which is here, and it was excellent because during the first turn of a fight he had initiative 10 and he gained +1 shot with a gun. No, he didn't actually. He got something. It was different. It was actually stronger. That's pretty strong anyway. The way it is now, during the first turn of a fight, you are initiative 10 and may gain 1 shot with a gun. But it was even stronger before, but they nerfed it. What I'm going to do is, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do reload either, which is use 2 grit to refill D6 shots in here. Yeah, not going to use that. We are going to go with pistol fanning. So there we go. Should be coming up on your screen. Pistol fanning. Once per turn, use 1 grit to double the number of shots you get with a one-handed gun for 1 attack. To use this ability, you must have the other hand open. So you can't dual wield with this if you want to do pistol fanning, and that's what he's going to do. So that's like a starting ability he gets right at the beginning of the game. He also gets an upgrade at the beginning of the game, and these are all here. Now these are the things that changed a bit, and when I picked out what he was going to have, I checked if those cards that I talked about that are printed off ages ago were the same. And the one that I've picked is actually the same because we're going with the showmanship ladder. Now, out of these 4 ladders, there was shooting, showmanship, way of the gun, and reputation. Whenever you start on a ladder, you obviously start at the base part of the ladder. And in this case, it's catchphrase for showmanship. Now, you can pick any of these. When he levels up again, he'll upgrade again. And he could pick another ladder. Doesn't have to go with showmanship. You can mix and match, but you've always got to start at the bottom of a particular ladder. So if he's picking catchphrase, I'll go through it in a minute, but level 2, his option would be either to go to level 2 in showmanship and get character piece, or he could go into one of the other ladders, shooting, way of the gun, or reputation. But if he did go into one of those other ladders, he has to start at the bottom one. Okay, now you've got, what is it? You can get up to level 8 in Shadows of Brimstone. So you could fill 2 of these ladders, take 4 of each, yeah? Or you can just take a combination of different ones, yeah? But if you do take that combination of more than 2 ladders, then obviously you're not going to get to the highest level down here for one of them. So you've just got to bear that in mind when you do your build. Okay, but as it is, he's gone with showmanship. I'll show you one of these cards. This is exactly the same, so they haven't changed this, so I can use this card. As you can see, these little cards, they're just dead useful. So I printed them off, as I say, about 7 years ago. So showmanship 1, and that is catchphrase. Let's go through it. Once per adventure, you may say your catchphrase to immediately heal 2d6 wounds, or to add d6 damage to one of your hits. And that's exactly the same as in the revised rules there. And we'll pop that in here. The reason I've picked that is he is a bit of a glass cannon, and we'll have to look after his health. So if he's got catchphrase, hopefully he'll be able to survive a bit longer. That's the plan anyway. So we've got one final thing that we've got to do, and that is pick a personal item. So we've got a personal item deck. These have all been shuffled, but I'll shuffle it again. Give it another quick shuffle and then we'll do a cut and see what his personal item is. So there we go, and it is the Ace of Spades. The Ace of Spades! Motorhead, baby! Let's have a look at this. Its keywords are personal and charm. +1 luck, so he's gone up to 5 luck. You may roll 1 extra die for scavenge tests. Okay. So, got the Ace of Spades there. And good. That is Thackery Gaunt. Okay, next up we'll take a look at Running Bear. And here we are with Running Bear. Let's have a look at his mini so you can recognise him when he's out on the tiles. Pretty cool, isn't he? They've actually upgraded, well, not upgraded, there's a different pose for this mini, I think, now. So in these red ones, these resin ones, I think he's actually holding the carbine rifle and his Indian hatchet, but this is the old one. I don't mind the old one, it's pretty good. And this is the one I've painted, so this is the one we're going to use. So, yeah, good old Running Bear with his cavalry jacket on. Pop him over there. And let's go through his character sheet. So, he's a scout character. He's got a grit. Everybody's got a grit to start with. His keywords are scout and tribal, so he's got 2 keywords. As far as his abilities, agility 3, pretty good. Cunning 2, okay. Spirit 3, pretty good. Strength 2, okay. Law 3, pretty good. Luck 2, which is okay. His initiative is 5. As far as combat goes, he's got 2 combat. That means he rolls 2 dice in melee combat, so slightly better than Cade. His max grit is also 2, and range attacks, he does a hit on a 4+, so not quite as good as Cade, but he's better at melee than Cade. He hits on a 4+ at melee as well. He's got a health of 10, which is okay, but he's got a better defense roll. So in order to avoid hits, he only needs to roll a 4+. Cade had to do a 5+. Sanity, not as good as Cade's, it's 10. But he's got exactly the same willpower save. On a 4+, he will avoid taking sanity damage. His starting items are a carbine and Indian hatchet. We'll go through them shortly. Abilities. He's a tracker. Once per adventure, you may discard and redraw an exploration token or encounter card that's just been revealed. So if we get something really horrendous, he can use that ability. We'll have to draw another, but we'll just keep our fingers crossed that the redraw is a bit better than the other one. So that's one of the things we've got to remember. He's also fast, so he gets +1 to his movement. Whatever he rolls, it's a roll to move game, we put +1 on it. But you'll see that when we actually play the game. Okay, as far as his starting items go, he has the Indian hatchet here, and this is gear, hand weapon, tribal keyword. He has the tribal keyword, so he can use it. Your combat hits are +1 damage, so very useful, this hatchet. It's for tribal, traveller or frontier only, so can't be used by any other type of hero that doesn't have those keywords. And because it's a starting gear anyway, you know, you can't give it away anyway. This also has 2 upgrade slots. It's also one-handed, but this costs $250. So if he does lose this, then it's going to cost him a little bit more to replace it. But goes into town, he will be able to replace it. So pop that there. He also has the carbine. So this is the carbine. There we go. This has the gear, gun and rifle keywords. It's got a range of 8, so it's got good range, and shots 3, so it can fire 3 shots. 2 upgrade slots, but it is two-handed. So he's got to use both his hands because it's a rifle. And this is $400. So if he loses this and his Indian hatchet, it's going to cost him a lot of money to replace them in town. So there we go. That's down there. His side bag. He has also picked the dynamite. I mentioned that before. Sensible choice. He's also got the old lantern because he's our tracker character, and he's got that opportunity to change exploration tokens and encounter cards. He'll probably be at the front because his upgrades that are off at the side there, you know, very useful, and very much tailored to exploration. So it's probably good if we get Running Bear at the front doing most of the exploring. So that's the plan. What other abilities has he got? Oh yes, so he's got 3 abilities here that he can start the game with. There's Savage Attack, which basically using a grit to get more combat. There's Cavalry Scout, where you can roll 2 dice to move in a turn and pick the best one. And the one that we're going to take is this one, which is Heightened Senses, which is a really good card. So there we are, Heightened Senses. Once per turn, you may re-roll a single to hit roll or defense roll, and that means all of the dice. Yeah, you can roll re-roll as many of those dice as possible. So it's not just re-rolling 1 die. Yeah, if you roll 6 dice and you only succeed on 1, you can roll the other 5 that failed. So this is a very strong ability, Heightened Senses. I think this is what he had last time. It wouldn't surprise me. And that's what we're going to go with this time. Oh, have a quick look at the old lantern while we're here. It's just a light source. So you need that in the mines because if you're not within 1 tile of the person who's got the light source, you start hearing voices in the dark and start taking sanity hits. So one of us has got to have the lantern, and we may as well give it the guy at the front. So that is Running Bear. Now, his upgrade chart. As I mentioned, this has completely changed from the base game. We are picking tracking 1 this way. Don't bother reading that card because it is no longer... the writing on it is no longer what you follow. It's on here. So tracking on here this way. So have a look at that there. This is what this way is. Whenever you look through a door, gain an extra 5 XP and recover a grit on the D6 roll of a 4+. He also gets +1 initiative with that, so he now goes up to 6 initiative. Him and Cade now have the same initiative. Should we require Running Bear to go first out of our heroes, he can now do that. So tracking is what he has picked as his first upgrade. And what I'll do is I'll use this card, but I'll just put some paper over there with what it actually is now. So that was the old one, and there is a new revised this way. Okay, right, that's it for him. I think, oh, he needs his personal item, doesn't he? So here are the personal items again. We've already shuffled them, so we'll just do a cut. And, oh, there's some Swamps of Jargano personal items in here. Oh, keep them in. Keep them in. Go around. He's got a boot knife. I don't think this is a... No, it isn't. So, boot knife. Personal blade are its keywords. A free attack once per fight. It's got a range of 4 and shots 1. It says shots, but it means, I think that just means the amount of times you can attack. And it does +2 damage. So with his Indian hatchet, he could dual wield these. Dual wielding in this game has changed. So if we do decide to dual wield, then obviously I'll have to read up on that, but it might come in handy. So he's got a boot knife, he's got his Indian hatchet, and he's got a carbine. Oh no, can't dual wield. Scratch that, it's got range. Yeah, it's a throwing knife. Yeah, it's a throwing knife, so he wouldn't be using it in melee anyway. Scratch that. But it is a free attack. So he could throw his boot knife and use his carbine, or throw his boot knife, then use his Indian hatchet. And that's why it's got shots 1 on it, because obviously there's only 1 of them. So as soon as you throw it, you've got to wait till the end of the combat before you can pick it up again. Or hopefully pull it out of some dead monster's body. So that's the boot knife. Alright. Okay, that is it for Running Bear. So next up, yes, it'll be the lovely Fifi. And last but by no means least, we have the beautiful, beautiful Fifi Dubois. She's French, okay, she's from Paris. And there she is, let's have a look. Did show her briefly before. So there she is, ready to kick ass. Okay. Put you over there, Fifi. Behind the boys. Alright, so, Saloon Girl. Let's go through her character sheet. So she's a Saloon Girl, and her keyword is Performer. She's got an agility of 4, which is excellent. Cunning's 3, which is pretty good. Her spirit's 3. Pretty good. Her strength is 1, not so good. Her law is 2, which is okay, and her looks 3, which again is pretty good. She's got an initiative of 5, and combat to hit she's got 2 dice in melee combat, which is excellent. She's got a max grit of 2, but like the others, she starts with 1 grit for this adventure. She's also got the revive token there. It's not to mean that she's going to die. I just put it with her because she's a bit of a healing character, so I just popped it on there. Anybody can use it, not just Fifi. Okay, range attack. She hits on a 4+, which is okay, and a melee attack she hits on a 4+, which is okay. She's got 8 health, isn't great, but she's good at healing, so that covers that off. But her defense is excellent. She defends on a 3+, because she's quick. So essentially, it's not so much defending as dodging, I think. Yeah. So 3+, she can avoid being hit. Her sanity's 14, which is great. And just like the other 2 boys, her willpower saves are at 4+. All right. Her abilities that she starts with, she has a comforting presence. Euphemisms, baby. Euphemisms. She has a comforting presence. At the end of each turn, you may heal 1 wound or 1 sanity damage from each other adjacent hero. So if there are 2 heroes that are adjacent to her, she can do it to both those heroes. Yeah, this has been slightly clarified. Yeah, I think this is the ability that's changed for her. It's been clarified. So if you've got 2 or 3 or 4 heroes next to her, then she can heal them. Yeah, she can do that ability. And she'll get 5 XP for each of those. So it's a very, very good ability. Lightweight. Now, she can only use guns that have the keyword light, like her holdout pistol that we'll see in a bit. So she can't carry big, cannon pistols and stuff like that about. So, but I think in her upgrade tree, there is a way for her to get extra strength and to actually be able to use normal guns. She's also fast, so she gets +1 move. So just like Running Bear, she's fast. Starting item is a holdout pistol, so let's have a look at that. Here it is. Just the thing that you stick in your garter belt. So there we go, holdout pistol. Keywords: gear, gun, pistol and light. So she can use it. It's got a free attack once per fight. We'll go through that because it will come up. We will be fighting something. It's guaranteed. So you'll see that when we actually start fighting. It's got a range of 3 squares. It's got a single shot, but it's a critical hit on a 5 or a 6. Which is normally a critical hit is only on a 6. Unless you're using something like a shotgun. If you're using a shotgun, you use a D8 and a 6, 7 or 8 will be a critical. But yeah, critical hit on a 5 or a 6, fantastic. Performer only, that's okay, because her keyword is performer. So we're laughing there. It's only got a single upgrade slot, unfortunately, but it's only a tiny little pistol, isn't it? So there you go. $200 should she lose it and have to buy it back at the town. So pop that there. That's a holdout pistol. Side bag, guess what? Took dynamite. It's free. So she's took that. As far as her abilities that she can start with, there are 3. There is Dirty Fighting, which is all of her attacks are +1 damage. There is Knockout Punch. So once per turn, she can use 1 grit to double the amount just rolled on one of her damage rolls. If this kills an enemy, she may recover a grit on the D6 roll of 4+. And the one that we're going to take is Acrobatic Dodge. You may move through other models and automatically pass escape tests. We'll go through escape tests during the game. Once per turn, you may re-roll 1 failed defense roll. And you see by this little icon down here, this has actually changed. This is one of the things that's changed for her. The reason we're doing this is she is going to be our healing character. So the ability to move through different models, to get right next to Running Bear and Cade in order to use her comforting presence, then that's going to be huge. So that's why we've picked Acrobatic Dodge. Okay, so that's going to be a starting ability, and upgrade. So she starts off with an upgrade. She has 4 ladders. We have fighting, moxie, acrobatics, and charm. We are going to pick charm and gentle manner. So this is the card I've got. This is slightly different from what's on there. Yeah, but it's generally the same, but there are a couple of changes. So I'll put that down there and I'll go through the revised gentle manner, which is here. So there you go, that's the revised gentle manner, which we'll be using. You now gain an extra 5 XP per wound stroke sanity that you heal from other heroes, and she gets +3 sanity. It's only a slight wording change in that it's taken into account that it's a clarification that if she ends up, you know, healing 3 heroes that are stood next to her, she'll get extra XP for all 3. It wasn't clear before whether she could just do it to 1 hero, a single hero, or to more than 1. It's been clarified, she can do it. As long as you stood next to her and you're part of her hero posse, she can use her comforting presence and heal sanity or a wound, whichever we decide. That is an additional what is it? That's an additional 5 XP with the 5 XP that she already gets. So that'll be 10 XP. So she won't be fighting that much, but she should be running around doing quite a bit of healing. So that'll help her to you know, contribute to our experience pot. Because all gold and all experience, when I play this game, my house rule is it's all grouped together. So I better mention that. It normally comes up. Rules as written, you're supposed to keep it separate, but it's just, one, I just don't like it, because we're all in this together, man. We're a team. And secondly, it becomes a bookkeeping nightmare, keeping it all separate. Yeah, so we just lump it all together. So she will be contributing quite a lot of experience, even though we're not expecting her to fight that much. She will fight, obviously, but vast majority of the experience that she's going to contribute to the team cause is healing. So she's going to take gentle manner. All right, personal item. That's what we're on. So here we are, do a cut. And what's she going to get? Ooh, a lucky charm. So there we go. Lucky charm. Keywords, personal and charm. +1 luck. Looks like a rabbit's foot, that, isn't it? Poor rabbit. Wasn't very lucky for him, was it? +1 luck. Once per adventure, prevent all damage just done to you from a single source. We will take that. We'll take that. That's a good one. Okay, put the personal items back now. And that's great. And that is all of our posse. So, used to be called the Brimstone Boys. I'm going to have to think of something else now. Because Fifi, oh, she's not a boy. She is not a boy. Might be a bit of a tomboy. She goes around kicking people in the nuts and stuff. But she is, oh, she's not a boy. Right, she's from France. Did I mention she's French? And that is it for our hero. So next time, this is going to be about an hour long, isn't it? Apologies for that. I did want a good 15 minutes, 20-minute rant at the beginning. So that's put a bit of time on. But yes, we'll get into gameplay next turn, get into the mine, and we'll start our adventure. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for all the subscriptions. Thanks for all the likes and the dislikes, and for all the comments. The stars are right, and your stars, and you're all right. Anybody who goes to BGG to like my video threads over there to upvote them or drop Geek Gold, anything like that, thank you so much. And last but by no means least, any of you who have gone across to KoFi.com to help support the channel and tip me a brew, thank you so much. It really does help. Thank you. Yes, so that is it for the introduction. Join me for episode 1. If there's anything you want clarifying in this episode, or you think I've got it wrong or whatever, you know, the usual mistakes thing, you know, just give me a shout, okay? Oh, at the beginning of the episode I did mention that I had to sort a load of cards out and stuff. The odd card may have got through into decks where it shouldn't be. We'll just play it by ear. Like, for example, when I was doing those, what was it, the personal items just then, there were some Gigano ones that had got in. We didn't pick one, so it doesn't matter. But, yeah, there may be the odd one that has, because I was getting thoroughly sick and tired of doing all the sorting out, so the odd one might have got through. We'll play it by ear, should anything like that, you know, turn up. Other than that, oh, one thing I do want to mention just before I go. With 3 heroes, you're allowed to scavenge a tile twice. I'll just mention it now. I will mention it when we come to scavenge a tile. But, yeah, one of the big things, which I didn't know, actually, it took me by surprise while I was reading the rules. I thought, oh, I didn't realise that. Yes, if you've got 3 heroes, you can actually scavenge a tile twice. Normally, when I was just playing with Cade and running Bear, 2 heroes you can only scavenge once, but 3 heroes you can scavenge twice. And I did a couple of old playthroughs, a couple of my old playthroughs that did have 3 heroes, but I wasn't scavenging twice, I don't think, so I missed that originally. But yes, we can scavenge twice. Okay, anyway, enough of that. I've been going on for hours and hours and hours. So, once again, thanks so much for watching. I hope you join me for episode 1. But until then, this is me, CatWeazle, saying toodaloo.